Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how to use the Infogistix currency editor in your ASP.NET MVC applications. We're going to use the MVC3 Razor syntax to instantiate our control inside of a view and connect it to some model data. So what I have in front of me is a MVC project in Visual Studio 2010, and I've configured the default view, which is the index view, to bring in the model data. So just to kind of see what's happening behind the scenes, we're going to come down here in our model, and what we have is just a simple person class defined right here with just some properties that have first name, last name, age, join date, salary, and phone. Now in this case, we'll use the currency editor to grab the value of a salary from a person object and display it in the editor control, and we'll do the formatting on the view as well. So this is what we've defined in our model, and if you come down in our controller, what we're doing in the home controller, which is the index page, when that action is called, the default view for when you run the MVC application, it basically creates an instance of that person object, just set some property settings there, and sets a salary of 120,000, and then passes that person object directly to the view. So now what we're going to do in our view is that once you know that person object is there, we're going to grab its salary information and display that into our currency editor control. So let's go to our index.cs HTML view, and you can see that there's nothing in there. We're just bringing in the Infogistix assembly reference so that we can use IntelliSense. So the first thing we need to do is we're going to make this view aware of that model of the person object. So we're going to do model and define the, grab the person object, model person, and then in here in our view, we're going to use the Razor syntax to create a currency editor control. So you can see that there is two different helper methods. One is the currency editor and one is the currency editor 4. Now if you just want to create a currency editor and not connect to your model, or you want to do the connection yourself, hooking up to whatever data you wanted to bring into the currency editor, you can use this method. And if you have a need, like in this case here, we want to connect the person's salary and display this in the currency editor control. So we're going to use the extension method currency editor 4 for our purposes here. So once we do that, we have the ability to connect this this editor control directly to our model. So in here we're going to say model.salary. By doing that, it's going to grab the person object that we passed into this view and the salary information and put that into the editor control. Now from here on out, we can just set up the default properties that we want to set for the control. So I'm going to set the data mode to be decimal. So numeric editor data mode, decimal value, because the salary information. Then I also want to display some buttons, spin buttons for the end users so they can increment and decrement values. I'm going to set the button type to be text editor button type to be spin buttons. And then I'm going to set a min value, and our min value for the salary is 10,000, so we're going to set a 10,000 of value for minimum, so that you cannot enter anything below 10,000. We can also do a max value, so let's set up a max value for, let's say, 1,000,000. And also let's set up a null text to say enter salary in case the user removes the default value. This text will prompt the user what they need to do in the editor control. And finally, just set up a width on this control, let's say 200 pixels, and render out the control. Okay, so what we again, going back really quick, so we have a person object in a model, and it has some property settings, but in this case we just are interested in displaying the salary information in the currency editor control. We're setting up the data mode to be decimal, setting up a button type to be spin, and minimum value and a maximum value in the control, and a null text property. So let's run this page. As you can see here, at runtime, you have the currency editor control formatted correctly with the currency symbol and a group separator of a comma and a decimal point in here. And it took that person object's salary that we define in our view and put it in our currency editor control. I can use the spin button to increment and decrement because we set up the spin button to be visible. I can come in here and modify the salary if I wanted to. Let's say 140,000, and when I move off it, I get the formatting applied immediately. We set up a min and a max. So if I try to set a value of 5,000, for example, and tab out of it, it would jump back to 10,000 because that's our minimum value that's acceptable by this currency editor control. Now, when a user does that, you will have all the events being fired in the back end, so you can prompt them accordingly of what they can and cannot do in the control. Similarly, if I try to set up a 2 million value, it would again jump back to 1 million because that's the max they can set in the editor box here. So again, in this quick sample, I showed you how you can use the Razor syntax in your MVC application to create a currency editor control and hook it up to your model data. Thanks for watching the video.
Infragistics. On the web at infragistics.com.